I had a really tough time deciding between two. I don't know that I'd want to live without either of them. One is Glenn Gould's 1955 recording of Bach's Goldberg Variations, and the other is Jimmy Buffett's album A1A. The Gould record is really one of the first classical records that I heard that I thought, not just, oh, this is very pleasant, but this kicks ass. Like, this is a completely different way of thinking about Bach that I had thought of before. And it also got me more interested in Gould himself, who, I don't know if you know much about Glenn Gould. Crazy interesting. Very, very interesting fellow. The Jimmy Buffett record is also it's a record that I've owned since I was 13. We had some neighbors across the street who were really into Jimmy Buffett, and I used to babysit their boys, and they allowed me to listen to their records. But this is a record that's lived with me for decades. I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. He died not too long ago. It was a terrible day. But I've been to see him, or I've seen him in concert 4 different times in 4 different states. He's one of the kind of foundational musical influences on me. I thought this one was going to be hard, but it actually turned out not to be. It's Homer. I read and reread Iliad and Odyssey over and over again, not just because I teach a class on that here. There are just worlds in those books. I never tire of exploring these different characters and their motivations and the hints at backstory that we get that are never realized, that are left to us to fill in. But like I said, that I was worried that one was going to be tough. Turns out not so tough. This one was tough. And the things I came up with were just eminently impractical. I think either my guitar or my yo-yo or maybe my record player, but then that means I'd have to bring records too, so I'm already running into trouble, and so yeah, this one was difficult. This got me wondering, is coffee a food? I mean, probably not, but if it's not a food, then maybe my baked macaroni and cheese that I make, or I love chocolate covered peanuts. I couldn't go without those. I feel guilty at this point because I feel like I should have said something healthier. Like maybe I should have just started out with pomegranates. But mac and cheese. This one was hard too. I don't necessarily have a good luck charm, but I don't know how much good luck it's brought me. But I have carried a picture of Gustav Mahler in my wallet since college. This one was tough too because it made me ask, when was the last time I actually got a real letter? And I couldn't remember. But I do love getting the handwritten birthday cards that my mom sends. She always writes the loveliest messages, and so I'd probably bring. Yeah, she's 76 now, and she doesn't write as clearly, but she always writes really sweet things. So I'd probably take one of those with me. So I have wonderful memories of going to music concerts with our son. My wife goes to music concerts with our daughter, but my son and I used to go. And there were 2 memories that stood out. One was going to see the Chieftains, but the other one, the one that I probably would hold on to, is going to see Tony Bennett with him. It was fantastic. We were up in the balcony, and at the end of every concert on that tour, Tony would walk to the front of the stage, put his microphone down, and sing. And because his voice is so strong, we could hear everything. He didn't need a mic at all. We heard everything that he sang, and it was remarkable. Well, I wasn't given this, but it's actually a piece of advice from Christie's novels. She has a couple of different characters that say this, and here's the advice. Take what you want and pay for it. Which I tell my students all the time. Take what you want and pay for it. You can make that decision, but it's got ramifications. It's actually probably the car that I'm driving right now. It's a small car. I got it in 2009, but it was my first brand new car ever. It's the only new car I've ever had. And it's got like 178,000 miles on it at this point. I don't want to jinx anything. I'm going to knock on all the wood here. It's still going strong. And I love it way more than I ever thought I would. This, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's got to be my phone. I mean, it's got my music on it. I'm an audiobook listener like you. It's got my audiobooks on it. And as my family knows, I'm directionally impaired. I get lost in our neighborhood. So my phone has GPS. I don't know how I existed without GPS. It was like a constant state of directional anxiety. But yeah, I feel much more secure with my phone.
And actually, this isn't part of the Soldier Island stash, but I just remembered I haven't asked you a very, very important question, which is your favourite Agatha Christie novel?
Oh, wow. I mean, the ones that made the earliest and biggest impact on me were the big three, Murder on the Orient Express, Evil Under the Sun, and Death on the Nile.